Hey folks, Sam here, also known as Mr. Stainless001, and today I want to chat to you and go more in depth with the abilities that may have been teased in the first 16 minutes of gameplay we saw of Shadow of War. So the last video I've made of Shadow of War was kind of a first impressions. It was pretty much, there was no factual information in there at all. It was just me freaking out and being a fanboy. Today I've kind of gone through the footage a lot more and I've started to pick out, there are a few things that I found quite intriguing and I feel like some Wraith abilities as well and some abilities that Talion has now that weren't in Shadow of Mordor, and I thought I would go through them, chat to you about them, see what you guys think and see if we can't put our detective skills to good use. So one of the first Wraith abilities we see returning is the ability to use our Wraith powers to help us scale walls faster. But shortly after, we see the Shadow Strike make a welcome return. Now Shadow Strike was a really useful and quite invaluable actually ability in Shadow of Mordor, so it makes sense that we would see that return. One new feature that was teased though was the ability to slow time and shoot the bow from the air. This is actually pretty cool and definitely opens up a lot more options to us as the player in combat. Now if you look closely here, you'll be able to see that we're given a prompt to lead this ability into a Shadow Strike, or as they do in the demo, detonate a fire to create a massive area of effect. Next we have Elven Wrath. This seems very close to what were kind of like the ultimate abilities in Shadow of Mordor. I don't fully understand everything that's going on here, but it seems that for a limited duration, time slows and we're given ultimate executions. Now, what I think is happening here is that for each execution, it triggers a group bow execution. Again, feel free to disagree with me in the comments. This is by no means proven. This is just what I'm assuming by looking at the footage, and I would love to know your thoughts on it. So what happens here is that we're seeing about 5 Celebrimbors spawn after the execution and automatically fire at enemies, or what we assume would be enemies. Either way, I'd assume that something this powerful, or something that looks this powerful, will be something that will be unlocked kind of mid to late game. I would assume that this is not something or an ability that we would start off with. One other multi-execution ability that we saw during the initial gameplay was this. As Talion executes one character, if another character is within close enough range, you can just press square on the PS4 or X on the Xbox One to trigger Celebrimbor to kill the other opponent. Now, due to the nature of when this ability was presented to us, we have to assume that this is a stealth kill ability and perhaps not something that you could trigger just in open combat. We'll just have to wait and see though. One other really interesting Wraith ability that was shown off here as well was the ability to transport enemies to your location into an execution. Again, this adds a lot of really interesting possibilities to combat in the game. I can't wait to see what the stealth and speedrunners do with this upon release as well. While not necessarily a Wraith ability or special ability, I want to touch upon the options that are presented to us when we go to control an enemy. As you can see, we've got Recruit, which is pretty standard. It was more or less Brand in the first game. We have Fight to the Death. Now, I find this interesting rather than just have it as Execute. I have to assume that perhaps as we're in a siege mission, you can't just execute enemy captains. Equally, we have Shame. This is new, where we can reduce the level of our opponent and thereby lower their strength. Maybe make them easier to conquer later on. One thing that I'm curious about is actually how the calling for your captain ability works when taking on the Overlord. It seems that Talion uses some form of Wraith ability, but it's hard to tell if this is something that's triggered by the player or something that kind of just automatically happens when faced with one of these do or die situations. So folks, that's all I could see in the 16 minutes of gameplay that was presented to us, but I would love to know your thoughts and if you spotted anything that I didn't. In the meantime though, it's important to remember that everything I've said here is not factual or proven by the dev team at all. This is all just my opinion based on what I saw in the video. It's completely fine if you disagree with me. But folks, in the meantime, if this is the first video of mine that you've came across, you're so welcome. If you want to hit that subscribe button and be kept notified of when my new videos go live, that would be awesome. If you want to join my Discord, there is a link in the video description where you can come and just hang out and chat with me. But in the meantime, folks, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching this. I hope you're having a great week, and I'll see you soon.